Welcome to today's web conference, U.S. Azure Partner Community Call for February. I'd like to turn it over to your first presenter, Nick Johnson, National PTS for Microsoft. Nick, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Kim, and thank you so much to all of you, over hundreds of you, who have taken the time to join us today. We know that you have a choice of where you spend an hour of your time, so thanks for spending it with us. Here's just a quick look at the agenda for today. As we go through, I want to just give you a brief look at some community announcements, things that I think are relevant to you as a partner, both short-term and long-term things you'll want to be putting on your radar. Then we've got a great presentation about the Microsoft Operations Management Suite from one of our product marketing managers who's really spending quite a bit of time on that, and I know he's very excited to talk to you. I also want to give you a preview of what's coming up in March and April in the community. It's something that you all have been asking for, and so we're going to bring you some very exciting agenda items in the next couple of months, both in our online format and in our community calls. So if you're new to this community, or if someone happened to forward you this call and said, hey, you should join this, you should plug in, we actually have some other ways for you to join us as well. You're aware of the call, you're here, but we also have a newsletter, we've got a Yammer group, and then we've got a blog that we maintain as well. And so we invite you to join us in all of those different forums. I know our Yammer community is approaching 2,000 people that are a part of it. It's a great place to post questions, to learn not only from Microsoft and dialogue with us, but to engage with your fellow partners. Really, we want you to get out there and ask questions, whether they're technical or sales or anything related to Azure at all. Please use that as a forum to engage with those around you. In fact, I have a special request for those of you out in the community. If you haven't been on Yammer for a while, would you go out there and would you post, or find somebody else who's posting, and I may start the thread here. I want to know, what would you all like to see as future topics in the community? What are things you would like to go deeper on? I mentioned next month we're actually going to be talking about EMS, and I want to know exactly what do you want to know about it, right? I can take a guess and I can go out and talk to a few of you, but as a community I think you've got the power to really influence what we're going to spend some time on. So I'm going to start a thread on Yammer later today and says, hey, what would you like to know about in the community? And then use that as a place to just dialogue, give us your honest feedback. So a couple of key announcements that you should be aware of. I think you're probably all very familiar that we have now established a strong partnership between Microsoft and Red Hat to bring some of the Red Hat distros to Azure to be able to have them fully supported on the Azure platform as virtualized environments. So we're very, very excited for that. You can see down in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, I actually put a screenshot from the Azure Marketplace as of last night, and some of the distros have now started showing up in the Azure Marketplace. So you can go in there, you can start spinning up your Linux engagements today. And this isn't just hey, you can run Red Hat on Microsoft Azure story. This is a strong partnership story. So you can see some of the details of the partnership on this slide. I'm not going to read them to you today, but what I'm very, very excited about is the fact that we've got this partnership now. We've got Red Hat people, support people working directly with the Microsoft support people, in some cases sitting in the same physical building to drive that deep engagement, which is really going to open up opportunities for all of you. And depending on where you kind of get your numbers, we know that there are a lot of people that are running open source and Linux distros on Azure. Anywhere north of 25 to 35% is what we're hearing, and so we really want to emphasize that is a great opportunity for you as partners to help your customers get up, stand up solutions on Azure. The next major announcement I want to sort of bring out to you, or a thing you should be plugged into, is the SQL Server 2016 launch event. SQL 2016 is going to be game-changing. I've seen some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I'm super excited. There is a launch event coming up in just a couple weeks on March 10th. There's the sign-up link. You'll have access to that in this deck, which I've posted over on Yammer, and I'll post the link to it in the comments section here in the chat window. We're going to have some keynotes from senior leaders Satya and Scott and Joseph Soros and Judson Althoff. So great opportunity to sort of hear from Microsoft's leadership about the vision and where we're going to go with our next big iteration of SQL Server and what that means in terms of the on-premises business and the cloud business. There's also going to be some key messaging I've heard directly in those keynotes for partners. So don't come and think you're just going to hear a product speech, because there is going to be some messaging for partners. We want you to make sure you plug into that. Next big announcement was the Azure Stack Technical Preview. So some of you may or may not be familiar with Azure Stack yet. I've got a slide coming up after this, just give you a quick look at it. But what's the message for partners today, right? If you know sort of the cadence of Microsoft, we're in technical preview right now. That means we're a little ways away from actually getting this out into a GA scenario where you can get it into the hands of customers. So what's the action now? Go out, learn it, try it, download the preview bits, start getting your teams ramped up, start thinking about how you could build solutions on it, but don't stop selling today. Don't stop selling other Azure solutions. Don't stop selling on-premises solutions baked on Windows Server. Don't stop doing those things, because if you design those things correctly in Azure using ARM templates and using the Azure APIs, you're going to have a very, very easy story for porting over your solutions to the Azure Stack when it fully releases. So start thinking long term, start putting it in play today, start thinking about it, start making good decisions about it. But don't stop selling the current stuff, because we really want to make sure that we close out this fiscal year strong. But I encourage you to go check out Azure Stack. There's an announcement video that's out there with some of our key technical leaders, Mark Rasinovich included, and just go spend some time there. It's really, really good stuff. Azure Stack, if you haven't seen it, here's just a brief look at the architecture of it. I actually stole this from that website that I just showed you. Right now it allows you to spin up on your own servers, your own infrastructure, or sitting in a customer data center infrastructure, Azure virtual machines and storage blobs and networks and those type of things, using the Azure Fabric running on local hardware. So it brings together the best of both worlds. It's going to have a great hybrid story between the on-premises world and the cloud Azure, the full-on public cloud on Azure. So we really, really encourage you to check this out, spend some time with it. In fact, in the community, we're planning to spend some time with it this summer. Not sure exactly which month yet, but we will bring on some speakers and stuff to educate more as we get closer to a release date. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is Azure Security Center. If you haven't seen this yet, please go spend a little time, check it out. It really is a great story to add into your security tool belt for customers. Our executives have really started to tell us, the old days of building a security perimeter around an organization are starting to quickly fade. And in its place is the necessity to protect cloud environments, to protect user identifications or IDs, to protect individual devices, to protect documents, all those things. And so security is now a multi-front story. And for you as partners, it presents a great opportunity to go out and actually talk to your customers about their security story and what are they building. And so I strongly encourage you, go spend some time on the Azure Security Center and learn how it's going to help you, in particular, protect your Azure environment. And as time goes on, I think you're going to see it expand into other areas as well. We're very, very excited about the Azure Security Center. From a program standpoint, I just want to make you aware as partners, we do still have partner investment programs available, both on the marketing side and pilots and deployments and assessments. Please make sure you are plugged into what these are. If you're not familiar with them, download this slide, click on those links. You'll get a full description of what they are. You can see there's budgets still available in all of these areas. We want you to be using this up as quickly as possible. The Microsoft field is going to start making a real push to get partners to use up this budget. So it's going to go quickly. So don't miss your opportunity to get plugged in and make sure that you're tapping into all the funds available to help you guys drive business as we get towards the end of the fiscal year. And the last thing, Azure incentives. As you know, we're paying out 20% on partner of record in Azure subscriptions. One new announcement that came out just a few weeks ago was that partners working with U.S. public sector customers are now eligible to earn incentives at that same rate. And all the details are at that aka.ms/partner incentives link. I've got it highlighted in the green box there on the slide. If you work with any public sector customers and you've always felt like, man, I wish I could earn some incentives on that, now you can. Go check that out for all the details. And with that, I'm going to get out of your way, and I'm going to bring in Rob Moley. And Rob is a product marketing manager for Windows Server, System Center, and OMS. So sort of three really important pieces of technology for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Rob. Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon or good morning, depending upon where you are. I'm just advancing the slides, Nick, to get to my start because whenever I took over as presenter, it knocked me back. So I just want to make sure if you can confirm that the slide everyone is seeing shows Microsoft Operations Manager Suite Partner Guidance.
It is looking good.
Perfect. Well, gang, as you heard, I am the marketing manager here in the U.S. for Windows Server System Center, and the newest member of the family, Operations Manager Suite. And it's important to first kind of frame what exactly this is before I kind of set up the background as to why we developed this. I just first want to make sure you understand that Operations Manager Suite is truly just a collection of Azure services that we have had in market for quite some time that we brought together and realized that they're truly fit into the management construct in a very meaningful way. And so it is this evolution of Microsoft's management story. And with that in mind, it is first very important for you and for our customers and for everyone to understand that the way our customers are being asked to both run their infrastructure as well as advance their infrastructure, the vision creates a very challenging world. And if you've heard Gartner presentations or some other industry analysts over the last couple of years, this idea of bimodal IT infrastructure has really started to surface, and you're probably already seeing it every day when you go in and talk to your customers. Our customers are being asked to straddle two worlds. And the interesting thing is when you have to straddle the world of both a traditional on-premise environment as well as a new cloud-based model that's obviously geared for speed and agility, is that management is really the glue that brings these two universes together. And it's not a trivial task because you can't stop what you're doing. Your customers, our customers, are still being asked to maintain the infrastructure and the application sets that they have. But the more challenging piece of this puzzle, I think, going forward and what we've seen over the last few years is the importance of the application and the importance of the developer. You know, we use this example a lot of times inside of Microsoft that the way that you engage with a business today, whether it be an airline, an insurance company, whatever it happens to be, the importance of the application has become incredibly more important, and having the agility to update and manage and control that application is now paramount within, our customers' environments. And so when we think about, where we're going with this modern management vision, it's that we're trying to address basically this bimodal complex environment that our customers are experiencing. I already talked a little bit about, obviously, management is the glue that bring these two together. And, one of the I heard recently from a customer is that, whenever we brought up this idea of a bimodal infrastructure, they obviously used the example of, hey, you're standing on a pier and you've got your foot in the boat that's leaving the dock, but at the same time you've got your foot on the pier. You're trying to be in two places at once, and that's not a very easy place to be. So as we go forward here, and as I talk a little bit more about OMS, just be mindful that this is exactly what we're trying to solve for in terms of the evolution of our systems management technology with both System Center as well as OMS. And so with that in mind, it's important to think about the application lifecycle, or just really the lifecycle as to what is happening around the modern management framework. And if we would have thought about this, let's say 7 or 8 years ago, I think the left side of the equation here of backup and recovery and detection and security and governance really did not fit into the management construct. And so today I really show this slide to illustrate that management means so much more than it ever has, and it's really important for you and for our customers to start thinking about it through this particular lens. And starting in the upper right hand corner with the building, the application development standpoint, as we are developing this technology of Operations Manager Suite, it is really starting first through the lens of the application, of understanding that the complexity of management with DevOps and just the rising importance of the application is really it's steering a lot of our thinking in terms of where the product evolves, and I'll kind of get into a little bit more of that here very soon. Orchestration and patching. I mean, this has been the bane of, I would say, a lot of customers for a long time. These are the historical aspects of management that we've seen in the past, but the difference is the tooling now for how you orchestrate or how you patch. It's not the same as what it was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it happens to be. Is that the number of tools that customers are bringing into their environment to do these tasks, it's really getting out of hand. And so with System Center and with Operations Manager Suite, we're really trying to bring those together to show there's a more sophisticated way to do it. The monitoring piece, as we look on the right, the bottom right corner of analytics and discovery and alerting. I mean, this is, you need to understand more in terms of just gaining greater visibility as to what's happening in your infrastructure is more critical than it has ever been before in terms of what the line of business owners are requiring. What they're asking for is to gain greater insights as to what's going on with their particular application. And as we move to the left side of the equation, or the left part of the slide here, I talked a lot about, or already mentioned briefly, is that this is really more of the evolution of the construct of management to be more inclusive of both backup and recovery, security, and governance. And so as we talk a little bit more about Operations Manager Suite in these upcoming slides, I think you'll see this is a big part of our investment going forward. I also want to ground the conversation here in terms of, what is Microsoft's commitment to management, or, really, it's important to recognize that we are not tone deaf to what our customers are saying and what our customers are going through as it relates to their need in order to go a lot faster. They don't have the luxury of going through installs and deployments of technology of weeks or months, or in some cases even years on a lot of technology. We are committed to developing new technologies that obviously have this kind of this SaaS framework, so that setup is within minutes, not weeks, not months, not years. Also, the ability to troubleshoot a lot faster. I mean, as you guys live on a first-hand basis, the ability to gain insights as to what's happening really quickly is incredibly important. And then obviously real-time innovation. We, by virtue of having a product that does exist within the cloud as OMS, the ability for us to add new features happens incredibly quickly. On average right now, we're adding about 15 new features a month to OMS. So as our developers are recognizing different needs that our customers have for speed, we're obviously able to get those integrated very quickly. Flexibility, and this is one that Nick talked a little bit earlier about as it relates to Microsoft's evolution of understanding that we live in a very heterogeneous environment, and Operations Manager Suite and going forward, with it already being released and going forward, is that we recognize that we need to have extensibility into other tools. You need to be able to leverage technology you've already built, whether it be runbooks or scripts, whatever it happens to be. We are committed to providing flexibility with OMS so that you can take advantage of stuff that you've already created. And simplicity. Not everyone is a data scientist, and what we think about when we think about OMS and really about management is the ability to make sense of the amount of data that is being thrown off of our customer's environment. You don't have the time, not every user is going to be the data scientist. They're not going to have the time to learn how to build queries. And so as we built this product, we built a lot of that into it so that customers can see, they can start making sense of the data without being a data scientist. And again, like the cohesive nature, the ability to look across both your Windows environment as well as your Linux environment is incredibly important. And these are, how we're thinking about our investment strategy going forward with management and with OMS. So what is Operations Manager Suite? It's very easy way to think about it, it is guest and workload management both on-premise and in the cloud. And the graphic here on the slide, it does illustrate the connective tissue as to where Operations Manager Suite fits into the puzzle as it relates to what our customers are doing in the cloud or on-premise. We are developing these technologies of both System Center and OMS in unison. We are really trying to ground the conversation of not necessarily of managing on-premise or managing in the cloud. It's just that you have a management construct or you have a management need. How you choose to manage that and the technology that you need to manage, whether it be on-premise or VMs that exist within Rackspace or AWS or whatever else it happened to be, that is obviously where a piece of technology like OMS comes in here. And it's really this, agent-based collection, remediation, workload-based management. And OMS is the glue in the architecture as the product that brings these various universes together. And if anybody has questions as we're going through this, I'm more than happy to solicit those or drop them in the IM window, and I can address them at the end of the call or as we're going. So as partners, the reason why I like to show the slide is I want you to recognize that, or I hope, and maybe you already do recognize that Operations Manager Suite OMS is already gaining a lot of traction in market. This slide is actually now probably about 4 months old. We have over 25,000 customers currently trialing OMS in their own environment, managing a massive amount of infrastructure and getting out there. So I just really illustrate this to show that demand for this solution is really high in market. You have the ability to augment your conversation with your customers just to say, hey, how do you think about management? What are you doing to manage your VMs, whether they be at Rackspace or at AWS or within Azure, and using that as an entry point for the conversation. A lot of our customers are already using OMS to do that, or they're trialing it, and obviously we want to have you help advance that conversation with them. So I want to talk, we're going to get into the meat of the matter in terms of what is OMS. And I'm going to go into each of these topics in a little more depth in the subsequent slides, but I first want to lay out the construct for kind of the 5 key elements for how we view management. First and foremost is visibility. How do I monitor? How do I understand dependencies? How do I understand performance characteristics of my entire environment? This is what log analytics is. This is just gaining visibility, not just gaining visibility, but gaining visibility into what's happening in your environment. The second piece of the puzzle that we really think about is control. Well, once I have visibility into my environment, now I need to understand what is going on and how to react. How do I remediate? How do I respond to alerts? With rules, runbooks, having a governance focus? And obviously this is where automation and DSC is going to fold into the conversation. Protection. This is a very rapidly developing part of the Azure framework of both Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery. We really want to help shift this conversation as not just doing this as a siloed task like people have done backup or site recovery in the past, but bringing it into the management construct. And even more new to the conversation, and as Nick talked about with the Azure Security Center, it's, security. Security is now no longer just the security team's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. And so our belief is, by bringing this into the fold in terms of the management construct, it helps cement that idea with a lot of other constituents inside of a company. So as I was talking about just now, visibility is critical to our customers, because if you don't know what's going on, it's hard to take action and fix what's going on. And the pain points that we see, really foundational pain points here, are our customers don't have a way to maintain their desired states or their time-consuming repetitive tasks. This is something that with our with log analytics, what we used to call operational insights, this is log management across physical, virtual, and cloud infrastructure. It is the ability to separate the signal from the noise with these log management tools. Collect and search across multiple sources within a single big data store, and easily identify the root cause of operational issues. The interesting point here to me is that we have not historically been able to correlate machine data, is that a lot of these tasks or a lot of this information was happening individually. And with the power of big data that we have integrated into the Operations Manager Suite tool, it is that correlation, the ability to gain deeper visibility and insights as to what's happening so that you can make more meaningful decisions or remediation based on what's happening in your environment. I think one of the interesting pieces whenever I first saw OMS, it's probably been about 12 months ago, it's really having the ability to do capacity planning, to pinpoint capacity shortages and investigate what-if scenarios. This is something our customers are constantly going through is, hey, what kind of capacity do I need to run my infrastructure? Obviously they also need to identify stale and over-allocated virtual machines and really plan for their future compute and storage needs. If you don't know what you're using, it's hard to know where you need to go next. And another really cool piece of the puzzle on log analytics here are the pre-built rules and algorithms to perform the analysis. We have standard Active Directory assessments, SQL assessments. There's a lot built into the tool itself initially that you don't have to be the data scientist to start making sense of what's going on in your infrastructure. I talked a little bit about this just now here, but creating operational efficiency with process automation and desired state configuration. I would say that the vast majority of our customers, this is a nirvanic state as to issues happening and then tasks remediating and happening on their own without their involvement. We know that that is something that is somewhat part of the future, but that is definitely where we're thinking about this and how we're creating this technology to get to a desired state configuration. And so what this creates is the ability to have ready-to-use automation sample, utility, and scenario runbooks. You can import your runbooks that you've already created for System Center and bring them into the fold here with Azure Automation, and also runbook monitoring with easy-to-use dashboards and charts. Use the charts, the job tables, and a quick glance section of the dashboard. Monitor the state of your runbooks and troubleshoot your runbook jobs. And sorry here, I think my slide keeps advancing without me. So site recovery and backup, this is a very ubiquitous need that a lot of our customers have had for quite some time, and I know that the vast majority of you partners are out there actively involved in helping lead customers backup and site recovery strategies. But this is really a construct that we want you to start thinking about, that management and both System Center as well as OMS is really a foundational element for your customers to help back up and create recovery points for their environment. It gives you the ability to define recovery plans and easy to manage recovery points, maintain uptime and create and have resource health assessments and unified protection for your on-premises or your cloud environment. This is something that anytime we get out in front of customers and talk about site recovery or backup, I would say that the vast majority of the time they maybe have not even been aware of the evolution of our technology on this front in the cloud. So get out there, help advance this conversation, recognize that our customers' sophistication on creating backup and site recovery is maybe not as advanced as we would want it to be. And to be honest, it's because it hasn't been, and it's always been a terribly expensive task to get involved in the past. I mean, I used to work in the hosting business many years ago, and a site recovery conversation with a customer was generally a discussion of replicating their data center within our own data center. And so it was, bringing the cost twice, hiring more people to do it, whatever else it happened to be. That is no longer the case. Being able to take advantage of public cloud infrastructure as a destination point for your applications, your workloads, and let's say just your backup data is an incredibly powerful conversation to go advance with your customer. And sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. It's allergy season in Texas. So this ability to be that security is now a central point, is that through these insights and through this visibility that we're providing with the log analytics capabilities, it really gives you greater visibility into what is happening across your data centers, and whether it be in public clouds. Whenever you get to see this in action, and I'll talk to you a little bit about starting a trial here, it's really just gaining visibility as to what's happening with system updates across all servers. One thing that I've seen with customers is whenever we've gone in and demoed this technology, you ask the question like, hey, are all of your servers currently updated? And they're like, yeah, they currently are. We spin up OMS, and 25 minutes later, we've got some analytical information of looking at what's going on their server footprint and in their OS environment. And we clearly then see there are not updates on all of their servers. And once customers see that, then they pretty quickly realize, oh, you know what? I've had just limited visibility into my infrastructure. Another interesting piece here, and what OMS and the Azure Security Center are really providing, is the ability to detect breaches and threats with malware assessment. As you can assess those servers, you can then see what has been infected by malware. You can assess the risk and the health of Active Directory and SQL Server. You can use built-in search queries to see what requires your attention to go in there and fix. This is a radical. This space is evolving so incredibly quickly. We think that the security and the compliance conversation is really going to be at the root of a vast majority of our management conversations, and really just any conversation that we have with a customer really needs to be rooted in security and gaining greater visibility and insights to what's happening in their environment. I'm only going to touch on this a little bit, and what I really want to land is the idea that your customers, a vast majority of them, probably have System Center running in their environment. And what we are asking customers to do, or what we are showing customers they can do with OMS, is creating a connection point between System Center and OMS in order to create a modern management conversation, or a modern management framework. And this centralized log repository idea is this idea of SCOM plus OMS, the ability of whether you're ingesting machine data on-premise or in the cloud, the ability to bring that data together in a common place in order to make more sense of the data, to look at that machine data and to take action on what's happening in your environment. And also really the control element is that once you discover what is happening, how do you remediate what is going on? And as I talked a little bit about earlier, if you've been running System Center and you've had orchestration involved, you can now bring all of that sophistication that you have with runbooks from your on-premise environment into OMS to manage your VMs, whether they be at Rackspace, AWS, Azure, or even on-premise. So, we recognize that There are discrete needs that customers have of managing their on-premise infrastructure because that's not going anywhere, but we also fully recognize that as VMs proliferate, whether it be in Azure or Rackspace or anywhere else it happens to be, we want to have a tool, and that's what OMS is, to bring all of these various components together. I want to touch very briefly on where we're going, with OMS. And this slide's a little bit old because Linux management, or the Linux agent, is actually already now built into the GA release of OMS. But very soon you're going to see patching integrated as well. And as I think I talked maybe briefly about earlier, patching is still a task that a vast majority of our customers labor over and don't have a great way to do it. What you're going to find is that the automated patching that you'll be able to create with an Operations Manager suite is going to make our customers' lives incredibly easier. So, stay on the lookout here. So, who to target for OMS? First and foremost, anyone that is using System Center. Our customers that have been using System Center to manage their on-premise environment probably have workloads that are in the cloud, whether it's at Azure, Rackspace, AWS. Somebody has these customers, have workloads running elsewhere, and OMS is the glue that will help manage both to manage their cloud-based environments. I didn't talk in this presentation earlier whenever I was talking about log analytics, but if you have familiarity with Splunk, this is, our log analytics tool directly competes there, and there is a pretty significant cost associated with your investment in Splunk. OMS is a fractional cost as to what we see for customers that are running Splunk. We're not saying OMS does everything that Splunk does, but it does about 80 to 85% of what Splunk can provide at this point, but we're just doing it at a fraction of the cost. Also, anyone that's obviously got a backup strategy in place, we want to be augmenting that conversation and showing them what they can do with backing up to Azure. And then obviously, I think even, I would say, sexier or hotter topic is site recovery. This is customers that have a VMware-based infrastructure, or in some cases have a Hyper-V based infrastructure, the ability to take that directly to Azure as a site recovery as a destination for their application or their workload is incredibly important and incredibly less expensive than going and building your own infrastructure to do it. I just put these slides in here. Really don't want to get into them too much, but I do want to show that the economic value of buying OMS, if you have customers that are looking at individual components of Azure services, whether it be operational insights, which we now call log analytics, or they're looking at Azure automation, or they're looking at Azure backup or site recovery, the moment their need or their appetite moves beyond one of the services, and operational insights is the one that I would say the vast majority of our customers have interest in. The moment it becomes operational insights plus site recovery or plus backup or plus automation, OMS is a less expensive way to get that solution. It does require them having System Center. The current licensing construct is it's designed to attach to a System Center license, but in the case of our EPG and SMSMP customers, we have pretty high levels of System Center penetration within that universe. So it's really just a matter of saying, hey, do you have some System Center server licenses? And if so, we can add OMS to this at a greatly reduced price until the end of the year. I want to talk real quick about where to get started. We have built a lot of great content out there that you can utilize. I think you can find a lot of the same content via the partner engines. I forget what we call it, Nick, but I know that we have some partner tools where we end up landing a lot of our marketing content, but you can also go and get it directly from the Microsoft.com/OMS site. And what I really want to call out here is that there is a free trial experience, is that we do have a freemium-based model here to help get customers utilizing this technology to understand and see the value of it running in their own environment so that they can ideally procure that at some point in the future. And Alex, you want to talk real quick about the proof of concept construct that we have available for partners?
Sure, Rob. And I think the term you were looking for, the name you were looking for before was the Partner Marketing Center. So we do make content available on there that partners can use to directly go to customer. I'm just going to quickly talk about a brand new offer available in the Partner Investment Engine. So in a kind of similar vein to what we have for Azure assessments right now and SQL assessments, we've made some money available for OMS proof of concepts. So that's $2,000 available to do a OMS proof of concept at any managed customer. So that could be any of our corporate accounts, EPG, or public sector customers. It's the standard process through the Partner Investment Engine PI, and the eligibility there is for our data center competency partners in MPN, and that's both gold and silver. I put a couple of links on there, so there's a direct link to the Partner Investment Engine, so you can sign in. If you have that competency, you'll see that offer available to you, as well as any other offers that you qualify for. And as well, a direct link there to the Yammer site. That's the Partner Investment Yammer page that sits within the US Partner page that I believe you're all members of. So if you have any questions at all, you can post on there. You can also get resources and further details about this particular offer. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. So with that, I have no further content. So if anybody has any questions regarding OMS and how it fits into our management construct, or maybe some of the actual technology itself, we're eager and happy to take those questions.
Yeah, actually, we did have a lot of questions that have come in, so this is a hot topic. So I'm going to rapid fire through some of these. If we can't get through all of them, we'll capture the rest and post them on Yammer when we're done.
Okay.
Is there going to be an SDK for this?
Yes. There will soon be the ability for partners to create their own solutions on top of OMS. And if you actually have interest in doing that right now, as you start the free trial, if you initiate a trial environment, you actually have the ability to create direct engineering feedback through the tool itself. Actually, when you log in to the environment and you get your own dashboard, I want to say it's in the bottom right-hand corner, you can engage directly with engineering and say, hey, how do I get into the fold of building a partner, I forgot what we're calling them, management packs, or we're not calling them MPs, that's an old System Center construct. There's a new term that we're utilizing in terms of building partner-based management applications on top of this, and we can get you into the fold there.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Just a side note, if you're actually dialed into this meeting via your phone, if you could go on mute, apparently somebody's coming through and it's breaking through our mute automatic system. So if you happen to be that person, if you could go on mute, that everybody else would appreciate it. Okay, another question was, the different cloud platforms all have sort of different scripting engines and automation tools, right? Is OMS going to be able to have a singular way to talk to all those systems? Is it going to be through PowerShell, or is there going to be another way, or are there going to be lots of different ways to interact with all of them?
That's an interesting question, and it's actually one that maybe we can go deep. That's I think probably a more mature conversation about automation, but currently obviously PowerShell is the construct for how to do that. Mm-hmm. I would want to get into more about what are the other tools or what are the other application sets in terms of how customers are thinking about automation. Mm-hmm. So just to understand more of those constructs, so maybe if you can identify that person and we can reach out to them directly.
Yeah, I have that.
Some information on,
yep,
and
I've got it
out to the Yammer group.
Yeah, we'll start a little Yammer conversation on that. Does OMS have any threat intelligence built in, and can it respond to threats in real time?
I would say respond is maybe and I would assume by respond you mean remediate. Currently, no, it's currently a visibility engine only. There are certainly plans that you could take that information and build your own scripting or run books, in order to address what's happening. But right now, it's not currently set up to automate those tasks.
Okay, cool. Couple questions around System Center and SCOM being mandatory. What pieces is it mandatory for, and any chance of sort of decoupling that in the future for those smaller customers that can't necessarily afford a full System Center implementation?
Well, there's not a technical architecture connection between SCOM and OMS. It is merely a licensing construct, is that when we created this product this year, or when we created the product, it is first designed to show our existing systems management customers our vision for where management is going. And so within this first year, OMS is only being sold to those customers that already own a System Center license. There are discussions in terms of how we will be licensing this product next year that will allow more people to get into the fold to use this. So for the time being, there is a very tight coupling. You need a System Center license in order to take advantage of the significant cost savings you get from buying OMS.
Okay, great. And this question might actually fall to Alex as well, but as far as some of those funding programs for OMS POCs and stuff, is that eligible to cloud platform partners as well, or just data center competency partners?
That one is just data center.
Okay. Any option to extend it? Because I know we've got a lot of cloud platform. I won't put you on the spot to give an answer here, but maybe we should look into that.
Yeah, we'll look at that. That's good feedback.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we would love to find a way to bring in those partners that have a point of view on, constructing this, but we just, to everyone out there, we had to, create an easy way to delineate who could opt into it first, and the easiest way to do that were with people that obviously already had an existing systems management data center competency.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds great. Good. And can we consider OMS as I'm going to screw up the acronym. It's SIEM tool. That some clients have a requirement for that.
Yes and no. It's it's not, I wouldn't want to position it immediately. And now, for the life of me, I can't remember how you say that acronym either. A SIEM tool. It is certainly, from an evolutionary standpoint, our Azure security services are certainly maturing to become that kind of tool, but we are not currently positioning it that way, because I think there's a lot of features that, let's say, Splunk has that OMS and the Azure Security Center don't currently have, that we wouldn't want to get in that precarious situation of telling somebody, hey, here's exactly, here's all the great stuff you can do, but we'd be missing something. And it probably would just be a matter of us having a more detailed discussion regarding what is their security visibility that they need, and then determining, does Log Analytics currently, or the Azure Security Center, provide them what they need.
Okay, great. We've worked through all the questions that were posted there. We still have a few minutes, so if you're out there, you have a question, feel free to drop that into the chat window there. But as we approach the end here, I do want to show the audience something that might be of huge use to them. So I am going to go off script for just a minute here, and I'm going to share my desktop. So you guys are going to tell me if it comes up here. So thanks for your patience while that comes up. And what I'm showing you actually is our blog site. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, and the reasons I'm showing it to you is back just a few weeks back, I wrote a blog that is an intro to OMS, so a lot of what you heard today. But one of the things we did in there was actually post a video link, and that video link shows you as a partner how you can quickly go up and spin up your trial tenant and kind of build your first demo environment on OMS. So if some of this caught your eye and you're like, wow, that's really cool, I want to go do that, here's a place that you can go do that. So go check out the video. It's about 8 minutes long, and it'll show you how to get your first OMS workspace up and running right on top of your Azure IURs or your free trial. So if you haven't done that yet, go spend a little time there. The other thing I want to show is the feedback.azure.com site. So if you have a feature request that falls under OMS or anything else, I wish you guys could see the chat window on the administrative side today, because we've actually had about 30 questions that came in related to other things on Azure, like what are you doing with this thing on virtual machines or Azure Site Recovery, and the questions are fantastic, so keep bringing them. Don't wait for this call, post them on Yammer, but if you really want to know what's happening, or if you really want to leave feedback, go out to feedback.azure.com. On the right hand side here, search for anything. So if I'm going to search for Azure Site Recovery, It's going to give me a quick hit, and it's going to say, Azure Site Recovery between data centers. Oh, look, it's planned. And the product team will actually go ahead and update this as they get closer to release. If you're really passionate about that thing, you can vote it up to raise the visibility as well. So as a partner especially, if you haven't gone out and gone to feedback.azure.com and left feedback for the product team, please do that. It's a really, really great way to engage that group. All right, so that's the end of the unscripted portion of the presentation. I'm going to attempt to get back to the slide deck. Kim, maybe you can help me get back to that.
Sure.
Thanks for bearing with me, folks. I thought just seeing those two little tools would be helpful for you. Excellent. All right. And with that, I am going to go ahead and take over, and we're going to go ahead and close out. Let me just check and make sure there's no more questions. There's a few more that came in. Okay, so OMS, does it do any reporting for compliance stuff around like PCI or HIPAA or anything like that?
Ooh, I don't think it does. I would need to do some more research into that.
Okay.
I mean, it would just be a matter of like creating a construct in terms of, I mean, it's not, there's not any currently built-in, reports or intelligence that is taking PCI, the PCI construct and saying, oh, this server or this, this infrastructure is not meeting that. But it seems like it's an intrinsically, inherently good idea that it almost seems like, well, why are we not doing that as one of the pre-built solution packs? But I haven't necessarily seen that solution pack, but it just seems like it makes too much sense that it would not, because those are pretty easily defined rules.
Sure. Okay. Good feedback there. And I think 3 or 4 of you all said, what's the link to that OMS blog? I just posted it in the messages window, so hit that button down in the lower left-hand corner of your screen if you haven't seen it. You can jump out to that blog. Apologize if you couldn't read that font. I know it came through kind of small, but if you want to check out that blog, that's a good place to do it.
And also the Microsoft.com/OMS, there is a ton of great content that we created there, but we're also doing monthly webinars with the engineering team on each of these topics. 1 month we go deep on backup, 1 month we go deep on OI. I suggest get in the loop on that as well and get your customers involved.
Outstanding. Good. Well, as we approach the end of our time, I want to thank everybody. We are going to post a link here in the chat window for a survey in just a second. Please fill that out. Let us know how these calls can be more helpful for you in the future. Let us know, especially in the comments, what are the topics you want us to talk about. We want this to be a good use of your time, so let us know where we can help. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out for today and turn it back over to Kim. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nick. Ladies and gentlemen, your feedback is important. As Nick mentioned, we hope that you found today's information helpful. Please let us know by submitting a short survey. Please click on the messages button to find a link to the survey. And you can access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered within 72 hours post-conference. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Nick, Rob, and Alex. This concludes today's web conference. You may now disconnect.